You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
Welcome on into Toronto Sports Rush. It is quite a day for us to be talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs after they lost 6-1 against the Florida Panthers in Game 5. I'm Julie Stewart-Binks, very pleased to be joined by former NHLer, current analyst for Hockey Night in Canada, Sportsnet, Kelly Hrudey. Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us about the Leafs. We know that there has been so much chatter, let's just say, analysis, everyone trying to figure out what happened in that 6-1 loss. And from when you first saw that game and your initial reactions to now, has your opinion on what has happened and what went down changed in any way, shape, or form? And kind of where are you in the quote-unquote grieving process if you are from Toronto?
Oh, that's hilarious, Julie. Well, thanks for the invite. Looking forward to our chat. Yeah, my thought process definitely has changed. I've moved on beyond the loss. I'm now looking forward to to Game 6 and to see what changes the Leafs make. Not in personnel, but just in attitude and how they approach the game, how they start the game, how they react if things go poorly early on or at some point midway through the game. Because I think my brain still thinks kind of like an athlete. Yeah, that was a devastating loss. There's no question about it. There's no excuses to be made. You can't sort of dismiss that one, but you do have to move on as an athlete. And, Julie, last night I was sort of not reminiscing, but explaining to Ron, Kevin, and Elliot a thing that I kind of went through a similar experience. It wasn't in maybe that particular style of game. It wasn't in Game 5 where you needed to make a statement, but we were playing in 93. I was with LA, and it's the year we ended up going to the Cup final. But in the second round, we were playing Vancouver at home. We held a 2-1 advantage going into Game 4, and we got smoked, and I let in 7 goals. We lost 7-2 at home, and that's a bad loss, and I took that one hard. But I knew that I had to really move on quickly. And then all of us played extremely well in Game 5. We took a 3-2 lead in the series. We won in double overtime. I think I had about 39 saves. So you look for reasons to be optimistic. And so that's where I am with the Leafs, that if they play like they can, because we watched them all regular season, we saw they had a great first round versus Ottawa. They had a great start to this series. Even in Game 3, when they had a 2-0 lead and a 3-1 lead in first and second period. So there's reasons to believe that this team can come through even in this adverse situation.
How's
that for being optimistic, Julie?
That is very good. The spin zone on that was fantastic, and I love the fact that you can look to your past and say, "Hey, it's been done before. I've actually seen it. I've experienced it. I've lived it." And I think what has been sort of the hardest thing to wrap my head around. I was at the game last night. I was one of those people. One of maybe one person that stayed till the very end of the game, because right. I was not leaving, nor would I ever throw any clothes on the ice ever, because that is just extremely disrespectful.
Yes,
and also a real waste of money too.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And so I just was like watching the guys on the ice, and I thought, like, what has happened to this team? It feels like they what is it? It's like they lost. I tweeted that it felt like they had disassociated or something had happened, that like from that Game 3 where it felt like that was a game that they obviously could have won, and a lot of things sort of went awry. And even in Game 3, Game 4 was really bad. Game 3. Yeah. But what is it, do you think, about like the mentality, the emotions of this team that seems to have just gone complete 180?
Yeah, so that is the question, isn't it? It's that we've seen this for a number of years with this team, and it seems as though like they can have a great regular season, and they play through adversity, because every season you have reasons why you could get down on yourself, and yet they seem to battle through. And yet when it's the most difficult time of the year, they have a really hard time believing in themselves. I said it last night on the air, when it was 2-0, when Florida made it 2-0, I really felt like the wind was taken out of the Leafs sail. Like that, their attitude changed completely. And then all of a sudden, Marner makes a terrible play. Everybody knows about it on the third goal. And he's such a great defensive player that he had a lapse there, covering Boquist. But just the look on Marner's face at the side of the net when Florida made it 3-0, that's an attitude that it's hard to move forward when you're so down on yourself and so disappointed in yourself that I didn't think there was any chance in game 4 that they're coming back. Or game 5, excuse me. There was no chance whatsoever, just because if you looked at the bench, they were lost. They had nothing. Their eyes were vacant. They're just, if you allow yourself to get to that spot mentally, you're doomed. And so what they have to do is find a way, and it's not up to us. It's not, you and I can't change it. We can discuss it all we want, but it's up to them to find a way to power on when the natural feeling is to get discouraged, and you just can't give into that feeling. And so for them, it's within the room. And, I do think that Craig Berube will really help that process. As Ron mentioned on the broadcast, St. Louis lost, I believe, game 6 at home in 2019 to Boston in the final.
Yeah.
And it was a bad loss, something like 5-1 or something. I can't quite remember. And yet they went to Boston, won game 7. And a lot of that was coaching, that he was able to get them mentally turned around. So I think he's going to be a big part of game 6 as well.
I'd be so curious to see what kind of strategies or methods he would try to do because it's such a different beast, because it is Toronto, and it's, I even feel bad because we are talking about it right now. And I think about these players as humans, right? And I think about the fact that they also are dealing with so much pressure from the city and the fans and the 58 years and everything that's gone into this. And it's like that load alone. How do you think these guys, I know it's like they just block it out, they do with that, but I mean, like, how would you, after getting off of that ice as a player, how could you possibly go on through your day without even feeling that awful feeling in your stomach?
Well, I don't think you can. I know from my past experience that I would have had a restless sleep. I most likely wouldn't have been able to fall asleep till 4 a.m. or so. But then when I would get up, I'd look for reasons to be optimistic. And I think that's a good way to start the day for the Leafs. But today's athlete is under way more pressure than we ever were. I mean, with social media and what people say about athletes and, the position they're in, and playing for the Leafs, playing in Canada, I just find that I don't know how I would have handled it. I know most likely I would have told my family and friends, don't tell me anything about what's being said publicly about the team or myself personally, because I don't need to hear that. And that was the benefit of playing in my era, that we didn't have social media. So we knew what the fans were feeling because they would let us know, but we didn't have the barrage of horrible things being said to them or about them, that today's athlete has to deal with. So I really don't know how a current player deals with it. And I feel like you just said, they're people, and I really feel for them.
Right. Yeah. And it's our job to look at the game and to analyze it and whatnot. But then you also know that there's this extra level of pressure mentally that could really affect them as just people and then also affect them on the ice. So
yeah,
I know going into, okay, so I like what you said, it's you find ways to be positive. And I was talking with someone within the organization, and I was like, what's vibe check? How are you feeling? And he said, we can only be positive because there's no other option right now, because we're not eliminated yet. And I think that's, that's the truth. So then if you acknowledge that you aren't eliminated, you still have a game, and then maybe another game, but you have to win this game. I'm getting shivers just thinking about it.
Right.
What can they possibly do on the ice that I mean, we know that they're like Florida. We know everything good about Florida. But how do the Leafs figure that out to actually probably they're going to want to score first? But how do they come out and make a statement?
Okay, so actually, I think that's quite easy. So the ultimate goal is to have the first good shift of the game. So you focus on winning the faceoff, opening draw. You snap it back to your D, maybe D to D. He gets center, and you rim it around, and you go on the forecheck. You get everybody moving, and you hit. So you have two hits in the first forecheck. You retrieve the puck, get it back to the blue line, and put the puck on net, and you have at least two bodies going to the front of the net. And this is important, Julie. You can't allow the Florida defenseman to box you out. So that's been a theme throughout the last 3 games. Florida defense have done a wonderful job boxing out the Toronto forward. So all of a sudden, in the books, in the first, say, 35, 40 seconds, you've got one great shift to build on. And then you roll your lines, and then you continue to do that. And it's nothing fancy. It's not, you don't need Marner to stick handle through 4 guys and get a great scoring chance. You need everybody to put in a simple shift. And then from a goalie's perspective, you need to make the first save. That's it. You don't look to say, okay, in the first period, I've got to make 15 saves. All you have to do is make 1 save. And then you reset and you make the next save. It's a very simple process. And then it seems, this is how my brain works, Julie, then it's manageable. Then the game seems manageable. It seems like it's a realistic goal. But if I go into the game thinking we've got to be perfect and Matthews needs to score 4, Marner needs a goal and 2 assists, Nylander, by the way, Nylander was terrific for most of the game,
right?
Last game. But so that pressure's already there. You don't really need to talk about it, but you have to go out there and you have to play a really hard game because that's what Florida does.
Right. I love how you break it down just like shift by shift. Is that what the coaches are saying and doing in the room, basically?
Yeah, for the most part. They're talking in grand scheme of things. So they're making sure that what the mission is to go out there. And as Craig Berube talked post game, you know, he said all the same things. I wrote some things down about what from the first period, and it's all those simple things, right? That, you know, people are going to say it's all cliche, and it is, but that is sports. It's, right? It's been that way for 100 and some years, and it's not going to change.
Right. And we saw them come out so strong with that nice goal in this game 2 or game 3, was it?
Yes.
Which one was it?
Yeah, game 3. I know we all get confused. We're almost a month in, and the games, and especially if you're doing multiple series, I'm like,
I don't know how you do it
right?
When you've got you had the first round, and then you have the second round, and just have so many different games going on at all different times. Okay, so let's talk goalies, because you mentioned that first save to make. We saw Matt Murray come in last night, and I remember being like, oh no. As soon as I knew he was backing up Joseph Woll, I was like, please God, we never want to see him on the ice. I feel bad saying that, but like, things are going bad if we see him on the ice. What do you think's going through his mind when he gets that when he comes on the ice and plays in his first playoff game in like 5 years?
Yeah, I saw that 1,700, and I can't remember how many days between playoff games. So for him, I can't speak for him, but just from my past experience, it would have been the very same thing. Make a save, make first shot, make a save, and then he gets scored on early. It's a broken play. It goes off McCabe's face or something, right? And so for him, he's just trying to not embarrass himself, get ready in case they need him in game 6 or game 7, get a little bit of a feel. But for Joseph Woll, we had some good shots of him on the bench, and he looked okay. Like he was rocked a little bit, but he didn't look discouraged. He didn't look as though, oh, woe is me. He looked like his face on the bench I was okay with. Like, we know him, Julie, and he's a pretty calm guy. Seems like he's pretty chill. So I expect he's going to bounce back. Now, he's not the reason why they lost last game. I thought he had a tremendous first period. Like, Florida was all over him. And so he'll build off that. And then maybe the fourth goal was one where the game was getting the best of him. He had given up 3 at that point, and the blast by the defenseman beat him. I thought, okay, maybe that one is one where the game's got him right now a little bit, but I think he'll bounce back okay.
Right. And then also because of how the players were in front of him changes with like all those different goals going in, like how they're playing in front, like if they're kind of defeated and they're maybe not defending as well or different things. And they're not scoring goals. Like he was on the ice while they couldn't put the puck in the back of the net. So he's trying to do as much as he possibly can. Yeah. Just reading now, I'm not certain, but I just saw that they don't think that Stolarz is going to travel for game 6.
No, he's not ready. Not even close. Okay. I saw the video of him in practice and what he was doing, and he's a long ways from playing a game.
That's what I thought. Like I thought that he was pretty much when I talked to a source, they said he's out for this series if they ended up going on. And I don't know if that meant like out even longer at that point. So, man, this is like when you look at it with him out, I mean, how does this team play differently without him in goal?
Well, that is the problem if we're going down that road, because they shouldn't. They should play the exact same way with Wall in net.
Do they? Yeah. Do they play differently?
No. No.
Okay.
No. They're the way that Craig Brubeck has this team playing. They've got to play the exact same way that they played versus Ottawa, the way they played during the regular season, and get back to that. That's just plain and simple. And by the way, we should address this thing about if they are playing differently, because we did make mention of this in game 4, I believe, when Wall was starting again, his best game of the series, where there was talk that Wall doesn't play the puck as well as Stolarz, so the defense had to adjust. Well, we showed, I think, at least 10 clips in the first intermission last game where Wall was really effective with his exchanges with his defenseman and handling the puck. So that should be a story that's in the rearview mirror as well.
I like that. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I know sitting there, a lot of different fans around me, including one of my cousins, he would scream every time Joseph Woll would go play the puck.
No, he's very effective handling the puck.
But he's effective at playing the puck. Okay. Yes. So overall, before we go, so we know they're going to game 6. What adjustments would you make lineup-wise? And if any at all?
Yeah, I would consider lineup changes. I hate to say this. I hate to pick on people, but there would be discussion clearly about Domi in the lineup, because Domi, for the most part, has been effective when he's on the ice, but he's just taken too many minor penalties. And you could argue at least one of the penalties last night was a bad call. But nonetheless, you can't put yourself in that situation. Like Domi, when he took the penalty on Tkachuk last game in the neutral zone, that's just a call. You can't take that penalty. You just can't do that. Tkachuk got the better of him in that situation, and Domi reacted. So anyways, that would be one of the discussions. Would I keep Robertson in the lineup? I'm not sure, even though he scored. I'm a big fan of Yarncroke, and I don't know if I get him back. He could play a real physical, heavy game, and in Florida, you're going to need that. So all those discussions you would have, but the top 2 lines I wouldn't change at all. And I'm just trying to think top of my mind. That's where I'd leave it right now, and there'd be no movement on the back end. Those guys are that's a solid group back there.
Yeah, and that's one that's been really consistent for the majority of the season, and it's gotten better. So I got to ask you, because it's just the biggest topic, but like everyone's just piling on Mitch Marner. Obviously also Austin Matthews, but the narrative about those two, how do you feel about the way they're playing in the playoffs and kind of the discussions that have been about them?
Well, so I'm a broadcaster that I'm supposed to have an opinion just based on facts, and you got to perform, right? But I don't know. I see it a little bit differently. I feel badly for those two guys because they're just getting slaughtered, and that I don't like that. I just find that really difficult. I know what the average person would say. They're getting paid a ton of money. They got to perform, and they do, and they have to have a great game in Game 6 in Florida, and they've got to fight through. Like the fact of the matter is, they've got to produce, they've got to perform, and they've got to fight through. They've got to find a different level because the level they're playing at right now isn't good enough. And you find guys like Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk and others in Florida that can raise their level of play when the game gets really competitive. And those two guys have to do that in the simplest of terms.
Okay, so just looking at those two guys, what's maybe one thing that you would want to see from them different in Game 6 for each of them?
Well, personalities are different for all players, but it's okay to get angry. I wouldn't mind that. You can be a little bit more passionate than they are. Like, I know, and we all talk about be even keel. Nothing wrong with being angry. Nothing wrong with being mad going into a game and doing something a little bit out of character, right? Why not?
I mean, I guess as long as you don't get a penalty, but I think that those guys, you would want to see a little bite from them about,
right?
There's so many memes about them out there. Like they're just being embarrassed. Like they're the laughing stock of like sports, right?
Now look at a guy like Connor McDavid. I don't think that's in his nature either, but he just does it. He gets to a game and he looks angry. Like, and I don't think that's his nature, that's his character, that's his personality. And he plays in a lot of tough series, and he brings it. So those two guys got to find a way to bring it and be in a foul mood. That's okay. Kevin Bieksa and I talk about it all the time. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be mad during a game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, showing that you care. I mean, we saw Connor McDavid last year on that Amazon series when he was really upset in the locker room, and that changed my opinion on him, because even just knowing that he could get to that level, even just watching him in games now, I know he has that axe murderer gene in him, is kind of what I call it, where it's like, I've never seen those two guys get like that. And I'm sure maybe
and
they
that's
have.
A quality, right, Julie?
But,
you're an athlete, it's a quality to have that attitude at times, right?
Oh yeah, I got that axe murderer gene. It hasn't done me a whole lot of favors on the ice, that's certainly for sure. I've taken a lot of penalties.
I hope Gretzky isn't mad at me, but that's one of the things I admired most about him. Like, we played together 8 years in LA, and everybody sees the grace off the ice and how wonderful he treats people, and that's real. But I also saw him get very mad in the dressing room, and that's okay. I like that about him. I was like, yeah, good on you. I like it. We're real. We can be human. We can be all these emotions. It's okay to be mad.
Oh, I love that. I would love to see just what's going on in the locker room ahead of Game 6. Like, I want to see them, like, that, what is it? Like, you want to get mad type of speech from, I don't know, whatever movie it is.
But speech.
Yes, I want to see, something from a movie type of thing. Like, it feels like this is it. I mean, if they were to, okay, so say things don't go well in that first shift and they get scored on, they go down. Like, how do they respond?
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Can they?
Yeah, that's right. Those are great questions, right? Those are things that you and I can't figure out here.
I know.
Right? That's one of my great questions about this team. Can they? Can they respond when something negative happens? Because for the last 9 years, they haven't. And we none of us have the answers to that. Maybe they don't right now. Maybe they're questioning that. Can we respond? And they better figure it out, and they better believe that they can.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter if we believe or we don't believe. It matters what they believe.
True. And it felt like this entire season, everyone kept saying, well, things are different this year. It feels like things are different. And it did feel like things are different.
Yes,
and even
I agree.
after game 4, it was like, okay, but things are different, even though they lost. And it was a 2-0 loss. And even when they were down,
Yeah.
they're only down a goal for most of that
Yes.
game.
Yeah.
So then it felt like, okay, I felt like they were going to come back and have a massive game in game 5.
Yeah.
Clearly not the case at all. And I definitely should not be betting on sports. That's definitely not in my, it's just not, don't listen to me, guys. Actually fade me. Just like do whatever I say you should do the opposite. And so I just wonder, like, now it feels, this feels big. Like last night's game, as I mentioned to you before we came on, my cousins and I said, well, we witnessed history.
You're
Like
right.
we witnessed the worst possible playoff game with the conditions, because there's been a lot more hope for this to be a different year. Felt like, wow, okay, well, this wasn't what my bank account wanted to see happen with the game tonight, but we will never forget this. We will certainly never forget this awful, awful loss. So then I think we're all just wondering if they do just sort of, pack it in, and they are like the same as we've ever seen them before. Or
I don't think that's going to happen. I just can't see these guys packing it in. They care. That group care.
Even though it didn't look like they cared.
That's right. They still care. And the reason why they're some of the best athletes on the planet is because they care. And so they've gotten to this point in their life because they care. And they've always succeeded because they have the attitude that can get them to the top. We didn't see it in the last game, but now I want to just throw this back at you, because it's funny how you said you'll never forget that experience last game, and you won't ever forget being there and all that. Isn't it funny how sports does that to us? So I was saying on the air about, I can't remember, 8 days ago, something like that, 9 days ago, it doesn't matter, when Winnipeg hosted St. Louis for Game 7, and there's all the negativity around Winnipeg and Hellebuck and how they're going to, and I said after the game, when they won in overtime after the Adam Lowry goal, if you're a Winnipeg Jet fan, you will never forget this series and this game. You'll never forget that Sunday afternoon game, because it was so impactful. It was so dramatic. They tied it with a second to go or something.
Yeah.
And then winning in overtime. If you're a Jets fan, or a hockey fan for that matter, you are going to remember it in a positive way, not like your last experience with a Leafs game.
Yeah, we don't have too many of those in Leafs history of being, of this story going the different way. I'll also remember that game very well, because I promised my friends in Winnipeg I would go watch a game in the next round if they won Game 7, and then I was like, no, I can't come to Winnipeg. I was like, sorry guys, I overpromised, underdelivered, and so. But one question before I let you go, I know there's now this team, how they do is not just related to the guys on the ice. And like, we obviously know what happens in the off season will be, contract things, all that stuff is different. But we know that there's people that this is also their life and their job that work there, that work with the team, the Shanna plan, everything like that.
Yeah.
If things don't go their way in this series, how do you think this affects management?
Well, it affects everybody. That's for sure. When you lose, there are questions about everything, and that's just the way it goes. For that matter, Julie, if you win, there are questions about everything, because you have to get better so that you can repeat. And so that wouldn't be a surprise to anybody that there'll be big questions, lots of discussion about who stays, who goes, why. All those sorts of scenarios are discussed on a regular basis. It reminds me of when I had a conversation with our general manager, Rogie Vachon, when I played for LA Kings. And we were having a great chat on a flight home after a game somewhere. And he just told me point blank, this is middle of a season, Julie, or he said, Kelly, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, Julie, he goes, Kelly, we talk about every one of you guys every day about a trade. That's how this industry is. Yes. We're trying to get better every day. And when I get a call from another general manager and he talks about you or Luc Robitaille or Rob Blake, we have the discussion every day. And so you can imagine if that's during the regular season and he shares that with me, you can imagine what it's like after a playoff loss when you lose and you're out. It just has to happen. That's just the nature of business. So,
Right.
yes, those discussions will be had.
And also just in terms of like who's running the show, right? Like I think there's a lot of pressure on Brendan Shanahan because now it's
For
like,
sure.
is this, have we gone down the wrong path? I think people would be wondering, but then it's like, but wait, this could be a completely different ending if the guys on the ice actually, like you can't control how they play, but like, I don't know, it's very confusing and complicated to figure out what the right move is.
It's complicated. So so we're having this discussion. So you go, have we gone down the wrong path? So the answers would be, well, let's analyze our season. We had a great season. You and I were discussing earlier in the show that it felt different. It had a different feel. They got through Ottawa and they had some adversity there. So have we gone down the wrong path? Doesn't seem like it, right?
Yeah.
We're better. We're better equipped. We've got better defensemen. We've got what looks to be a better depth up front. We've got a great coach. I trust the general manager. I've known Brad forever. So
He's made great moves too.
Great moves. So have we gone down the right path? I would have to say yes. So does that mean people lose their job? I don't know. I don't know. All of that has to be looked at and discussed.
Yeah. I think like when you put it into context like that, it's like, I mean, they've done better and it's been the first year with Craig Berube there.
Yes.
And then like you got Stolarz on a great deal and he's not even able to play.
Right.
And your decor is better and your depth offensively is better. It's just, I guess the problem, there's obviously everyone looking at the two guys on the top line right there. But I'd say if I was like running it, I'd be like, let's give it one more spin at least, like another year to let these guys grow into this at least. I'm obviously clearly not running the Toronto Maple Leafs yet, Kelly, yet.
I like that.
Oh, someday, baby, I'll be running that franchise.
I like it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know we took a lot of time here, but it's been really fun just being able to talk about so many things with this team that is just an enigma for everyone watching.
Right.
And we are still glued watching them till the day we die because we love sports, we love hockey, and the Toronto Maple Leafs take us on a roller coaster that we never know where it's going to go. Usually it goes down, but it's taken us up a lot. But then, with the highs come the lows. So, Kelly, thank you so much again for joining us. And guys, make sure if you're in Canada, of course, check out Hockey Night in Canada, Sportsnet. They've got incredible coverage. You guys do such a good job. And I was so fortunate to be able to watch you, Kelly, when I was up in Canada, which I don't get to down here. So you and the guys, you did a great job.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks for the invite. We had a lot of fun. Hopefully I get to join you again.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.